got this mesh here, and for part one of this little video, what we're going to do is we're going to go here and we're going to cylindrical unwrap what we can. So I'm going to start with this side, and I want my seam of this to be on the inside of the mesh. So I'm going to start by doing a UV, holding spacebar, UV cylindrical unwrap, and here rotate at 90 degrees. Let me take a look. Actually, I'm going to rotate that at -90, and the reason being is in my UV editor, I want this to have this seam. If I go to edge mode, the seam, you'll see in my green highlight in my perspective view here that it will highlight in red. And that is my seam, and you'll see it right here in orange and red and green, however I'm highlighting it. You'll see here, this is where I want the seam to be, because it'll be the least likely place people will notice it. So I'm going to turn on my toggle UV shaded display, and I'm going to take this, and what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to go to Tool, Smooth UV Tool, and I'm going to unfold, and I'm going to unfold, unfold. And I'm going to continue this all the way until it finally unfolds itself. And that's the UV's straight on with the seam being right down the side. And it's unfolding it as best it can to replicate the shape here in a two-dimensional plane from a three-dimensional surface. So now what I'm going to do is go back in my 4 viewport. Oh. And it's from here. And I'm going to go UV cylindrical. Wait, didn't I just do that one? Edit, redo. Can't see anything. All right. So to double check that you're selecting the right one, these little glitches are confusing me. Display glitches, Perspective UV editor, and that looks like the object that I just unwrapped. So it's going to be this side. And I'm going to go up to this point where it's this perfectly straight line here before it starts its bend. So then I'm going to go UV cylindrical, same exact thing. And in this case, instead of going -90, I'm going to go +90, so the seam is on the inside once again in here. I'm going to select this. I'm going to scooch this out of the way. Again, I'll show you. If I go to my edge, you'll see it highlights right here, and that's called the seam. Now I'm going to use my Move UV Shell tool to select it, and I'm going to go Tool, Smooth UV Tool, and I'm going to unfold, and you're going to see this weird thing happening in the center, and that's okay. Just keep unfolding it until it totally unfolds itself to a shape that replicates. It looks like I might have selected one higher on this side, which is okay. We're going to connect them all together anyway, so no big deal there. Now from here, what we're going to do is we're going to do this centerpiece. And I'm trying to find the best viewport to go from. And I'm going to go from this one, and I'm going to go UV cylindrical again. and I'm going to rotate this at 90, and I'm going to, because I want it to rotate along that axis, and I'm going to rotate this at negative 90, and then you can also, with these tools here, you can stretch this across to change the projection height, because now it's a different projection height. And if I go to Panels, Layouts, Saved Layouts, Persp UV Editor, select my UV shell tool, you're going to notice that it's a little off. So I'm going to need to fix this right away. And to do that, I'm going to select my arrow tool, hold right click, and go to Edge, because I want this to all be one solid object. Otherwise, I'm going to have a seam here and along this edge, which we don't want. So I'm going to click this edge, and I'm going to go to Polygons, Cut UV Edges. Now this will become a separate UV shell. It's almost like a jigsaw puzzle, and then I can move it over here, or whatever you want to call it, like a little puzzle. And I'm going to select the edges, and you'll see them highlight on both sides here. And then I'm going to go all the way down, and I'm going to go, once I select all my edges, I'm going to go Polygons, Move and Sew UV Edges. And then I'm going to select the Move UV Shell tool, and I'm going to go Tool, Smooth UV tool, and I'm going to unfold. And you're going to see all that strange weirdness happening. It's just trying to unwind itself, basically, and get to a point to where it's finally unfolded. And now I've got those three parts. Now what we can do is I can go into object mode, and you'll actually start to see a difference here. If I hold right click and I go to Assign New Material, and I go to Lambert, in this case I'm going to use a Lambert, and I'm going to go to Lambert 2, and I'm going to hit the checkerboard box, and I'm going to go to Checker, and I'm going to press 6 on my keyboard, and you're going to see that my checkerboards are actually starting to look like checkers because we started to unwrap it. Now the only two parts I have left are here and here, and what I'm going to do is, from this point, this is where it kind of gets tricky. So here I'm going to make sure I select probably, to be safe, I'll just do these, and I can run this as two different ways. I can do a UV camera based, which might be quickest. You can do cylindrical. You can rotate at 90 and maybe negative 45. So if I rotate X and Y at negative 45 on this angled portion, and I go to my Persp UV editor, you're going to see it's sort of trying to unwrap it. And if I go to Polygons, Unfold, didn't mean that, not yet anyway, Tool, Smooth UV tool, and I go to Unfold, you're going to see some really weird things happening. So this might not be the best way because it's really kind of confusing at this point. So let's go ahead and undo back to the point where I have the faces selected themselves. Edit, redo, and let's try that again. Okay, and from here I'm going to do you can do a planar map, but I'm going to actually just sort of bring my camera onto an angle where I can sort of see it pretty well. And I'm going to hold spacebar, UV, and I'm going to do camera base this time. And you're going to see that checkerboard sort of project just like so. And it's doing exactly what I told it to do. And you'll see here, this is the angle at which I projected it at. And you can sort of see the resemblance. And the red is obviously sort of the under part of it. But now, with that being said, we want to make sure we follow our UV seam. I'm going to go here, and I need to make sure I go all the way up on the same seam. Press 6. And I'm going to go to polygons, cut UV edges again, and that's going to create my seam. And now I'm going to go back here, tool, smooth UV tool, and I'm going to unfold. And that was so much easier than using the cylindrical unwrap, which is why the camera-based is so useful. One more thing, let's go ahead over here, highlight all these faces, do the same thing. UV, camera-based, go back over here, select it, and you're going to see, again, it's about the same. I'm going to go underneath this part, like the underbelly basically, and I'm going to locate the seam on this one. It should be right here. It is. It just lines up so well that you can barely notice. Here, and now I'm going to run right up the seam. And there we go. And now I'm going to go hold, you can do it this way. Hold spacebar, go to UV and cut UV edges. Same thing as over here. And if I go to tool, smooth UV tool, unfold, and now we've got that nice clean unfold happening. Now for the caps, here, these are really important to know how to do correctly too, because these are going to be separate objects, or separate UV shells. You can run a UV camera-based. It's really the easiest to start learning with. And now I can do just remember to do tool, smooth UV tool, and unfold it so it gets back to that shape. The other way to do it is hold spacebar, UV planar, hit the box, best plane, and click apply. And now you'll have that here as well, same thing, except this time you shouldn't have to unfold it. Tool, smooth UV tool, unfold, no. So now we've got this entire thing unwrapped. What we want to do next is, you'll notice the checkerboards are different sizes. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make sure that all the checkerboards are the same sizes. So in this part, I know this part here and this part here, and we want to make this a seamless unwrap. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to move it into place, and you're going to see I'm going to start to get close to it, and you'll see that the checkerboards are now roughly about the same size, which is really important for scaling. So I'm going to go back in here, edge, I'm going to press my arrow tool, go to edge, and now I can run right across here, polygons, move and sew UVs. Now that is a seamless part. I'm also going to do that to the top part. And you're going to see this becomes one long seamless texture in a moment. The top part here, I'm going to move this over here, scale it larger, and we're going to hold right click edge, and I could double click my edge in here. It'll highlight. Ooh. So that's interesting. So I have my UVs in the right place, sort of, except it's flipped. So what I can do is I can select my UV shell, and at this point I just want to rotate it. I'm using these rotate selected UVs clockwise, and I'm just going to rotate it all the way around. Again, you can select your edge from here and on the mesh itself, polygons, move and sew UV edges. And now I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to move over here into place, and I'm going to move this one as well into place. And you'll see when you move this, it moves the checkerboards. Scale it up, and I'm going to move it approximately, and I'm scaling this as close as I can to the approximate size. Okay, you can see the checkerboards are approximately the same. Go to Edge, highlight it, and you'll notice the same thing. So I'm going to select my shell, rotate, 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 rotate. Go back here, select the edge, polygons, moving so. By doing so, it just makes it easier for Maya to understand how you want it to move into place and so on and so forth. It looks like, again, I should probably rotate like so. Move this into place. They're about the same size already. And I'm going to go down here and highlight that edge. And you can see the seam right here. That's where the seam is. I'm going to go polygons, moving so. Now it's a seamless, well, it's only got one seam running down the edge. But now if I take this and I go Tool, Smooth UV Tool one last time, and unfold it, and unfold it, and unfold it, that's probably it. You don't see any shimmy shakes here anymore. And you should be good. Now I'm going to need to fit this into my box. And before I do that, I'll just show you over here. Nice, clean checkerboard running across the entire thing, with the only seam happening directly underneath the belly of it. So that's awesome. And this is how you want all of your objects to look like when unwrapping. All same checkerboard size, as least possible amount of seams, and as the least amount of seams as possible, at least visible seams. And what we're going to do from here is we're going to take this and we're going to scale it down, and you'll notice the size of the checkers change. And a lot of artists, in a 3D artist, will have their own custom checkerboard. And what we do to maximize on space is we actually put it on an angle. And now, got that there. And the one last thing I want to do is I want to make sure, I'm going to scale this back large again. I want to make sure my checkers are the same square size, as close as possible to my whatchamacallit, to my caps as well. So this is good. I'm cool with this. I'm going to select all of these and I'm going to scale them down uniformly, because they all should be the same size. And I'm going to go ahead and place this back into my UV editor and scale it as best as possible to fit within my bounding box. And now my caps are both this right size, so I'm good here to go. You can also include more objects on a mat, but this is ideal. We'll texture it next time. Thanks for watching.